It begins in tension, fear, and moral decay. Long before his voice thundered through history, Isaiah grew up watching a nation slowly rot from the inside. Judah was alive, wealthy, religious, and spiritually sick. On the surface, everything looked stable. Beneath it, everything was collapsing. Isaiah was born in Jerusalem during one of the most complicated periods in Israel's history. God's people were divided into two kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Political instability, spiritual compromise, and social injustice defined the era. Isaiah 1:1 anchors us in time during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, 4 kings, 4 very different moral climates, one unchanging God. Isaiah watched Judah prosper under King Uzziah. According to 2 Chronicles 26, Uzziah sought the Lord, and as long as he did, the nation thrived. Agriculture flourished. The military grew strong. Cities expanded. To most people, this looked like God's blessing and they stopped asking questions. But Isaiah was paying attention. He noticed that prosperity was creating arrogance. Wealth was concentrating in the hands of a few, while the poor were crushed. Justice was bought. Worship became ritual instead of obedience. Isaiah later exposed this corruption bluntly. Woe to those who add house to house and join field to field until no space is left. This wasn't success. It was theft, dressed up as progress. At the same time, idolatry crept in quietly. People still went to the temple, still offered sacrifices, but they trusted other gods, other systems, other powers. God was no longer their security. He was a symbol. And then there was Assyria. A brutal empire was rising in the east, swallowing nations whole. Israel in the north was already trembling. Judah knew it was next. Fear spread. Political leaders panicked. Many began arguing that survival required alliances with Egypt, with foreign powers, with anyone but God. Isaiah saw the pattern clearly. When fear replaces faith, compromise follows. Then everything changed. In the year King Uzziah died, Isaiah entered the temple. This was not a casual visit. The king's death marked the end of an era. Stability was gone. The future felt uncertain. Isaiah walked into God's house, carrying the weight of a nation's anxiety, and that is when heaven broke open. Isaiah saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on a throne. Not struggling, not threatened, enthroned. The train of his robe filled the temple. God was not reacting to history. He was ruling over it. Seraphim surrounded the throne, burning ones. 6 wings each, covering face and feet, flying, crying out with voices that shook the foundations of reality. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory. This was not comfort. This was terror. Isaiah instantly understood the problem wasn't Assyria. It wasn't politics. It wasn't idolatry out there. The problem was holiness, and Isaiah did not have it. Woe to me, he cried. I am ruined, not confused, not insecure. Ruined. Why? Because holiness exposes everything false. Isaiah realized he was unclean, living among an unclean people, standing before a perfectly holy God. This moment shatters modern spirituality. Isaiah does not feel affirmed, he feels undone. Real encounters with God do not boost self-esteem. They destroy self-righteousness, and yet God does not destroy him. A seraph takes a burning coal from the altar and touches Isaiah's lips. Pain precedes cleansing. Fire precedes forgiveness. Your guilt is taken away. Your sin is atoned for. Only after cleansing comes calling. God speaks. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Isaiah does not negotiate. He does not ask for details. He does not demand success. He answers with words that would define his life. Here am I, send me. This was not a call to popularity. It was a call to rejection. God immediately tells Isaiah the truth. The people will hear but not understand, see but not perceive. Hearts will harden, cities will fall, judgment is coming. Isaiah asks the only honest question, how long? God's answer is devastating. Until devastation comes, until exile, until collapse. But even then there will be a stump, a remnant, a holy seed. Isaiah's ministry would not be measured by visible success, but by faithfulness. He was not called to win crowds. He was called to speak truth. From that day forward, Isaiah confronted everything Judah loved to protect. Idolatry, injustice, empty religion, political arrogance. He exposed leaders who crushed the poor and priests who hid behind rituals. He declared that sacrifices without obedience were offensive to God. Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, stop doing wrong, learn to do right, seek justice. This was not motivational preaching. This was moral war. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel. This story does not get easier, it gets sharper, more political, more uncomfortable. If you want scripture without dilution, stay here, and let me be direct. If you want to learn how to turn deep biblical storytelling into digital projects capable of generating $3,000 to $15,000 in 30 days, the link is in the description. This is not hype. It's structure, strategy, and execution. Either you build intentionally, or you stay invisible. Isaiah's voice grew louder as Judah grew more afraid. Kings came and went. Some listened, most didn't, and the consequences were real. Isaiah did not speak from a distance. He stepped straight into power. When King Ahaz took the throne, Judah entered one of its darkest chapters. Ahaz was religious on the surface and faithless at the core. He feared people more than God, and politics more than truth. And fear always reveals what we truly worship. Two nations, Syria and Israel, formed an alliance and marched toward Jerusalem. The threat was real. The army was approaching. The city was shaking. Scripture says the hearts of the king and the people trembled like trees in the wind. This is where faith is tested. God sends Isaiah directly to Ahaz, not to flatter him, not to negotiate, but to confront him. Isaiah tells the king something that sounds reckless to a politician. Be careful. Keep calm. Do not be afraid. In other words, stop panicking and start trusting. Isaiah declares that the enemies threatening Judah will fail. Their plans will not stand. God has already spoken, but Ahaz does not want faith. He wants control. So God offers something extraordinary. He tells Ahaz to ask for a sign. Any sign. Depths or heights. Heaven or earth. God is willing to meet him. Ahaz refuses, but not out of humility. He hides behind fake spirituality. I will not test the Lord, he says. This is religious language used to justify unbelief. Ahaz had already decided to trust Assyria instead of God. He wanted military backup, not divine authority. He wanted survival without obedience. And that is when Isaiah delivers one of the most explosive words ever spoken. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel, God with us. This prophecy was not sentimental. It was confrontational. Isaiah was saying, you don't trust God now, but God will come anyway. You don't want him to rule, but he will. Not through armies, through incarnation. Centuries later, this sentence would split history. But in Isaiah's time, the message was clear. Judah's real problem was not political weakness. It was spiritual rebellion. Ahaz ignored Isaiah. He chose alliances. He paid tribute to Assyria, and Judah paid the price. Fear always demands more than it promises. Then came Hezekiah. Unlike his father, Hezekiah feared the Lord. He listened to Isaiah. He tore down idols. He restored worship. But faith does not remove crisis, it exposes it. Assyria returned. Louder, stronger, more brutal than before. Cities fell. Nations collapsed. Jerusalem was surrounded. This time, the pressure was unbearable. Assyria mocked God openly. Their messengers shouted insults at the walls of Jerusalem, daring God to intervene. They listed conquered nations and destroyed gods, asking one terrifying question: which God has ever saved a nation from our hand? This was not just war. This was blasphemy. Hezekiah does what Ahaz never did. He goes to the temple. He spreads the threat before the Lord. He prays. Isaiah sends word back. Do not be afraid. God has heard. Assyria will not enter the city. Not one arrow will be shot. That night, without an army, without strategy, without negotiation, God acts. Assyria is crushed. The threat disappears. Jerusalem stands. History records it. Scripture declares it. God does not need alliances. But the test is not over. Hezekiah becomes terminally ill. Isaiah delivers a message that sounds final. Put your house in order. You will die. Hezekiah turns his face to the wall and weeps. He prays honestly. God responds. Isaiah returns with a new word, 15 more years, healing, protection, mercy, and then comes the sign. Time itself moves backward. The shadow retreats. God bends creation to confirm his promise. This moment should have sealed Judah's faith forever. It didn't. Hezekiah later shows Babylon his wealth. Pride slips in. Future exile is quietly set in motion. Even good kings fail when vigilance fades. Isaiah watches all of it. He sees the pattern repeated again and again. Fear leads to compromise. Compromise leads to judgment. Judgment leaves a remnant. Isaiah begins speaking beyond his generation. His prophecies stretch forward past Assyria, past Babylon, past exile into something far greater. He speaks of a servant who will suffer, a king who will rule with justice, a peace that weapons cannot create. He declares that God will humble every empire. Babylon will fall. Egypt will tremble. No nation is untouchable. Power does not protect from accountability. This is where Isaiah becomes dangerous. He announces a day of the Lord, a moment when pride collapses, nations fall, and human arrogance is exposed. Everything exalted will be brought low. And yet Isaiah is not just a prophet of judgment, he is a prophet of hope. A shoot will come from the stump of Jesse. A branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him. This ruler will not manipulate. He will not exploit. He will not rule by fear. He will restore creation itself. Wolves and lambs. Peace without coercion. Justice without corruption. Isaiah sees a future where suffering ends, but only after truth is faced. Before we move on, subscribe to the channel. What comes next is the heart of Isaiah's message, the suffering servant, the scandal of grace, and the invitation that divides people to this day. And again, if you want to learn how to turn content like this into a digital asset capable of generating $3,000 to $15,000 in 30 days, the link is in the description. Stop consuming endlessly. Start building intentionally. Not repaired systems, new creation. Subscribe to the channel now if you want biblical content that refuses neutrality and refuses dilution. We don't soften truth, here we sharpen it. And let me be aggressive for a moment, because some of you need it. If you want to learn how to turn content like this deep, meaningful, structured into a digital project capable of generating $3,000 to $15,000 in 30 days, the link is in the description. Stop spiritualizing procrastination. Stewardship includes skill, strategy, and execution. Now I want you to comment and don't sit on the fence. Here's the question. Is Isaiah comforting or dangerous? Is his message still relevant today, or does modern Christianity avoid prophets like him because truth costs too much? Choose a side. Comment your answer. No neutral responses. And once again, subscribe to the channel. because the God who spoke through Isaiah is still speaking, and the only real question is whether you're willing to listen.